Hello, Andrew.
Hello.
Okay, before Andrew sits, we will open the special board meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
States
of the
of
United
America,
States of America and to the republic for which it
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you everybody for coming in early today. Important day whenever we can find a police officer to come to Lake Placid or anywhere for that matter. So Chuck, would you like to fill us in on anything?
Sure. It's just like I put in the memo. This young lady came to us as a result of Plattsburgh PD already filling their spots. She's definitely qualified and seems like a very nice young lady, and she'll be a good addition to the police department.
Great. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I've already talked to Chuck, so I'm good.
Great. A motion to accept the new police officer.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Congratulations, Chuck. Is that 2 within a month?
Yes, we're doing very well. Academy started this week. Thank you.
Okay,
Need to close. Yes, right. So we should officially close this meeting before we start the workshop.
I make a motion that we close the special board meeting.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we'll go ahead and open up the regular board meeting now. Starting off with item number 1, public hearing date for parking law. Jackie?
Yeah. Chuck, Mark, myself, we revised the parking ordinance completely because it was outdated. It wasn't dealing with the new method of payments with our new meters and dealing with the mobile app. And to that, when we noticed this, Janet made the suggestion of putting that out there instead of somebody trying to read 15 pages of an ordinance. This is why we changed it. And in every section, it was referenced a meter versus a pay station. So that's why it was so long.
Need an update.
Yeah, it did. And we changed the times and added some definitions, so it's pretty inclusive.
So that is all ready.
It is all ready, yes, yes. You had no changes, Janet. I made the changes that Janet wanted, so we're good to go. So May 19th, is that our next board
So the
meeting?
next board meeting is next Monday, and so we would officially set it there 2 weeks from.
Fine, okay,
It's too close for next Monday.
okay. And moving Art to the public hearing for the Main Street clothing law, which all that is, it's changing it from a criminal penalty to a civil penalty. And we could do it at the same day.
Is that
Very good.
something also would put in writing?
Yes,
Okay.
that's all done. I'll
Okay.
forward to you.
Okay, great.
That means you're gonna start enforcing it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, 'tis the season is right. All right, so we'll pick May 19th for both of
Okay.
those.
So should we start at 4:30 or is that more time than we need? 4:45? What?
Maybe 4:45.
4:45.
Do you think?
And then if there are comments. we can
Okay.
always
Right, go.
Just go
right.
longer, yeah.
Okay.
And as far as the noise ordinance, it sounds like we're letting Janet have her final comments, and then we'll have to let those get back to Katie. And it's possible, I suppose, that we could set that date at our next board meeting as well, but if not, we'll have to wait for the next. Is that where we stand there?
Yes.
Okay. Anything, Katie, you want to add?
No, I think it'd be great if we're in a position to do that, but we'll see what the comments come back as.
Okay, great. Item 4, back to Jackie about the beach.
Very good news. The town has been able to secure a head lifeguard and they have filled all of their lifeguards positions. So much so that we will be able to open up the toddler area again, which will probably hopefully increase the space for people. Because I know there were a lot of complaints last summer and even during COVID where it was too tight, but if we can get the toddlers over onto that other side. Do we want to talk, about keeping speed limits on the water? Is there a way to monitor this?
I mean, Jackie and I talked about this earlier. Question was, can we monitor speed on Mirror Lake? The short answer is yes, from shore. I mean, we don't obviously have a police vessel in Mirror Lake. So we wouldn't be able to do, typical marine enforcement, that way. But we do have technology that allows us to do it from shore. And practical enforcement might be a different story, especially if the boat decides to go to the other side of the lake and get out somewhere we can't see. But
Do we have posted signs? No wake, I mean, I'm just, no. Do we need to do that? Should we do that?
I mean, the only place I could think of putting it would be the boat launch. The only public launch on your lake, right?
That's not even a public boat launch, really.
No,
It's just
a
the beach.
waiting area, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could put it by the kayak. I mean, do we,
There'd be no wake, you just need a sign somewhere, but where would you put it?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, where can you put a boat in?
Well, that was my point. It's either here or the kayak area, right? I mean, that's,
Well, the kayak area, you wouldn't necessarily be able to put a motorboat in.
well, no,
they-
no motorboats.
well, wait a minute, don't they, where do they launch for Ironman?
Right there by the
Yeah.
tennis court.
Yeah.
By the tennis courts, okay, and
That's used as a launch. By
Okay.
people.
That's where people carry their
Yeah.
rowboats
Right.
and things like that. There's no motorized boats really actually allowed on there other than
Yeah.
electric.
Right.
Yeah. And then other than the boats that are out there for
for an event,
the.
and they ask for permission and.
It's just a matter of, like, electric motors are getting so powerful now, just trying to get ahead of it before.
So the Golden Arrow still has their electric boat that they use for weddings. They usually take the
It goes
brake.
pretty slow.
Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
It's
That's
really
what-
heavy. Slow.
Yeah.
It's heavy, it's an older boat, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Mirror Lake.
in? I thought
Or like, but they,
no, they asked and
Oh,
they asked last year
okay.
and we kind of stalled on that. Why did we stall on that? Why were we, what other information?
I think we were trying to think about,
How many boats? can
yeah,
be
the
on that?
implications.
So there's a private boat, somebody
Yeah.
has so there were 3 electric boats or proposed electric boats.
Yeah, and then people do launch, I've seen people launch them.
Their own private electric boat? Okay, okay. So maybe we should put some signs out.
Yeah.
All right.
Those would be.
I think that would be the sign.
Okay,
I don't know, I think the kind of grass wouldn't be conducive, because you can't unload.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Get there easily.
But like, like songs on their leg, like people definitely kind of them up or have their family and want and.
You might want to talk to Northwood and maybe put one.
at their beach.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Jackie too, just because I know some people use that as well.
Does
With
Pine
permission.
Hill do that too?
This one.
Oh,
Or the development up there?
I don't know.
What do they use?
Beach,
Beach.
oh, they have their own
Yeah,
They have their own
little beach area.
beach.
Yeah, but probably sensible to see if they'd be willing as well.
Or talk
'Cause
to their
There's quite a few
association.
people. Yeah,
Just because that'll knock it off. I mean, the only other one. Denise Wilson's in that end. I don't know if they,
If they launch from there.
well, Denise, yeah, I don't know who shall.
Yeah.
Speaking of, did anybody ask permission? Did we get a permission slip to put the buoys out for Northwood? Okay, I guess I must have missed that. Okay,
The last
I think maybe you were online for that
all
one.
right, well, I missed that. Okay. All right, me again. Again, the Clarkson presentation that was yesterday. If you want to speak to it, I mean, I know, it was, the Development Commission had asked Clarkson to, as a student project, to come up with some ideas on how we can have access to the beach and how we can mitigate traffic around Mirror Lake. And they came up with some good suggestions for parking,
Yeah.
but most of it is in the town. I think
There,
there,
there was very few things that were in the village.
Yeah.
What they did do seemed to be, it was nice. Stuff at the boat launch, I think, was far-fetched, but.
who knows, in 10 years. And I've got a paper, I can send it to you via, PDF and also a YouTube video. Perfect. Oh, me again, okay.
You're on a roll, Jackie.
I hear that, okay. Would we, last week, as we all know, we received a request to hold a rally in Mids Park, which of course, we were more than welcome to have it there, but we did have some requests that, they not put chairs on the lawn in case it damaged the irrigation, right, that's one of our rules. The date was available, we sent a letter. But we did a little bit of research and if this type of situation arises again, we can certainly look at creating an application process for these types of events. We certainly can't, it's not, this is freedom of speech, this is a First Amendment, they are certainly entitled to speak on our property, but we can have some requirements that, such as an occupancy, if we decide that Mids Park can only hold 300 people, which is safe, but they're asking for 500, we certainly have some leeway to, speak with them about maybe either reducing the size or maybe finding another location. So, I worked with Chuck just on some basic rules and regulations, and we'll go through it with Janet to see what is legal and not. Me again? Jeez. Okay. Rail trail. What did I have to say about rail trail? We did notice that it's getting very busy again.
Yeah.
It is. I've reached out to the Historical Society to see once construction starts, if we can use the train station as their back as parking. I haven't heard back from them yet, and you may actually have more of an update because you met with Peter or their engineers.
Yeah, I mean, looks like they're ready to go out. They said by mid-May, we should have bids back or at least information on our bids. We dug some test holes down there to see what type of material they were gonna be into. So, it's moving forward. I guess once we get the formal bids back, we'll know how close we are to having the money to get the project finished.
Great.
Art, you weren't copied in, but Kathleen from ARTA had sent Brad and I a request to pick up garbage to put a bin there, Old Military Road, but, right?
Yeah, and it's totally up to you guys if you guys want us to do it. We were trying to cut a deal with them to maybe put a porta potty at the trailhead. And then we would put a garbage can over there. They don't want to put the porta potty there. I mean, it was a substantial amount of money
It was.
for I think they should go out and get other bids myself, but
So our expense last year was about $3,000
yes.
for 2 porta potties at and that was only done at the request of the museum because they were tired of people using their bathrooms.
Which is strange. They think you want to drive people there, but
So,
this year, we don't know how long the parking lot's gonna be open, so we were not going to put a porta potty there. But, I mean, it's not a big deal for us. If you would like us to put a garbage can over by there, And we pick it up in the morning, we'll pick it up in the morning.
And now where would that be?
It would be
By
right
the-
past,
By Greg's.
yes,
By Greg's.
What is that? Us or is that the town?
it's in the town, but they don't pick up garbage.
Just because we're not gonna have a line even, I said, we should do it for this year.
We can throw a garbage can there and then.
But do we want to talk about putting porta potty? I mean, the
Yeah,
response,
that's the other thing,
I
is
know.
Do you, want we, that's the other thing, if we do not have them there, should we put them back over there?
So Kathleen, I did, what, Brad had asked me to do was send Kathleen a note back saying, you know, sorry, we're not gonna put porta potties there. And she thought in the spirit of in-kind services, it would be nice if we did. I can agree with that, but we're doing an awful lot of in-kind services for the trail.
If maybe just put the one,
The
the handicap one,
And where are they
that
asking
way
for?
everybody.
At
can
the
use it.
trailhead, you know, on Station Street?
But are the two still gonna be there at Greg's place?
Yes.
Well, then,
We asked them to move them over to ours, they don't wanna do that.
I think they leave them at Greg's, and since
Yeah.
the trail, we're gonna be mostly under construction, we don't have one this year.
But might wanna wait till we talk to the Historic Society, they might ask for us to put one there for using the parking lot.
Okay.
And then we'll probably have to move the garbage can over there.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds like it's a work in progress.
Yes, it is.
you're up again.
No, I'm not. Katie is.
It's
Take a breath for about 30 seconds. Yeah. So we've been, and as everybody knows, we've been working on, kind of ways to get more connections, that don't involve motor vehicles. And so looking at kind of bike and ski and walking routes, and I think, the priority kind of number one, that seems, kind of both easy and doable, and helpful in terms of linking the rail trail into town, I think has kind of been the focus for this year. The group that's been meeting, as you know, is a really great mix of people and organizations represented, and has come up with a preliminary map as well as locations, for signage and signage drafts that meet DOT regs. I think where we are with this now is there's a few elements and a few locations that need DOT approval because they're on New York State highways. And then I think that there's also an opportunity potentially to work with consultants that sort of work with the SWAZOs who specialize in this type of thing, to give us, maybe to kind of give the plans that we have a once over and advise on, I think anything that we're missing, anything that they know DOT particularly likes or doesn't like. And also just something, anything that they, in their experience of doing this stuff, know would work better for bike routes and pedestrian routes, that maybe we're missing because we don't do this every day. So, Brad has had a preliminary conversation with them, and I think that they were looking at doing two things, maybe a potentially a study of the volume of traffic on West Valley Road. Okay. And I think that was basically because there are some guidelines around, safe kind of, sharing the road, right, guidelines. Around traffic volume that are recommended for, shared streets versus dedicated bike lanes. And I think that we didn't really have, a clear sense for what the traffic volumes were on West Valley. But we thought that it might be near some of those boundaries, and so wanted to get a sense, and I think that there might be some wider benefit to knowing the traffic flow there. And Brad, I'm happy if you want to jump in and.
Yeah, so we had them pull more than a bunch of different things. But we think that all we really need is the data collection of the amount of vehicle for right now. Counting pedestrians, counting bikes, they were gonna put out cameras, count certain things. We were just gonna get a traffic count, maybe for now. That way we know where we fall in the. There's like a whole bunch of rules and regs for bike lanes and what different types of bike lanes and shared roads. We would like to know just how many cars are actually on that road during busy time so that we could know where we fall into that.
Emily is on this committee, right?
Mhm.
Did she offer the engineering study that Swazo did for West Valley?
Yes, and that
Okay.
was not part of it. So,
Oh,
yeah, the kind of traffic count was not.
Okay.
Well, that's why this grew, because
Yeah.
I went to the Swazos and said, do you have the capability, or do you have one of those counters that they put across the road? They said, no, I mean, talking to some people, this is who they work with. So I met with Drayton Manning and them. And then Swazos were the ones that kind of thought it would be better having some of this information for like the sidewalk and everything else. But then when we saw the prices right now, I think that all we were looking for was just a traffic count.
Sure.
That's what I was looking for. I
Yeah.
was trying to get my hands on one, and like DOT said they were still looking into it for me. Whether getting a DOT one here to count, and maybe I wouldn't have to pay for it. We're still looking into that. But I did reach out to them to say, maybe if they could look at the stuff that they have out there now, just to make sure that it's following the rules.
And does Creighton Manning pick the location?
Well, we
Me?
already picked them.
Oh, you did?
Well, I told him that we would like one at the beginning of West Valley where it's, because I was trying to use this to incorporate, if there's enough numbers that I could justify that red light. That was my second part of this, if I could justify somehow saying we have 5,000 cars a day, I don't know, that may be that much, but
But that, I mean, just from the letters that
no.
I've gotten, that's not what they don't use it traffic, they use it accidents.
Yeah,
But,
Largely.
but they,
Yes. Okay.
then the other one would be on the Mill Pond side of Cummings Road. Because we were trying to catch as much on both ends to see if they're going all the way up West Valley. Are they turning off onto Cummings Road? Are they turning up into Hillcrest area?
Do they turn up into Nash though? If they're coming,
But we'll catch them either way.
okay, what about
Unless you come
those?
down Nash and then you go up Cummings, we wouldn't catch you.
And, not that there's that many cars at, Mackenzie Overlook, but if they're going to Main Street, I mean, they would come out of Mackenzie Overlook and they could go up Nash,
Correct.
but that's not gonna account for much, is it?
No,
I didn't think so, okay.
our main thing is in the morning. That's a bypass route for most people, so that's gonna be big in the morning and at night.
Right, because they're dropping kids off at school, so they're coming from West Valley and going up Cummings.
or the elementary school down.
So how would they use both counters? Would they average? Like,
They have all that.
Okay.
I don't know how they,
Yeah.
he pulled up a map and said, here, I said, well, I would like to catch everything. He said, this here, we can, and then in between, probably just do some calculation of cars that can possibly go this way or that way.
this is not what DOT pays for. We would have to pay for this.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, because you were talking about the
Well-
crosswalk counting.
Well, I was trying to get DOT to come put things out for us if they had them available to
Okay.
just do it for us. But it's pretty hard. And in my conversations with them, I found out a lot of things that I didn't want to find out, so.
And I think that the other component of this, so, I think that we're. The traffic volume data, so task A would be helpful for a whole bunch of different reasons. Task B is like the kind of roadway and bike accommodation assessment. I don't think we need that. I think, in part, we need to figure out what the traffic assessment looks like before we can even think about usefully doing that. But also I think that was all really focused on West Valley, and we've got probably like a bigger vision. And instead, I think what would be really helpful from this organization is to try to get them to, look at the plans that the group has developed, and advise on, signage placement and the proposals around road markings. So that we can, and any road crossings so that we can, get handle on what the DOT preferences are and best practice. And I think that that would also, help smooth things, in terms of the concerns Janet raised about making sure that, we're going about things in a way that is consistent with precedent, and the right standards. So I think it's like from a quality perspective, legal perspective, and a DOT perspective, that would all be really useful to do.
I think the numbers in the end are wrong. I think it's 1350. They
Yeah.
put 1500. Or.
Yeah, yeah, I
think they
agree.
That was just a.
An error.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think that
You're saying that's not right.
No, the 1350 is right. I think we put 1500 is wrong. That's gag.
Oh, okay, got it. Yep.
so I think,
They would just, for that amount of money, they would install 2 counters. And basically give us a traffic count for West Valley Road.
and then what we need to go back to them with is to look at the scope proposed for task B2 and, make sure that they're clear that they're not starting from scratch, but that, we'd like their advice, but on that bigger footprint, not on West Valley really, until we get a view on whether or not it makes sense to even put something over there.
You're gonna do that like post Memorial Day, you think, or?
Well, I wanna do it when it's busy.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Because if you remember when they did the traffic study at that, they did it when it was like. Right now, yeah, with nobody here, and then they said there's no.
And I think for the other element, of the kind of, advisory support, we'd be looking to get that done as soon as possible.
Do you know where Roost is and or where Adam is on signage?
Yes. So they have, they've been working with us and the DOT regs and developed like a kind of the draft template for signage. There's an Excel sheet, if you want to see it, you're welcome, that has kind of all the, detail of what the signage needs to say. Yeah,
I also want, I mean, what it looks like. Is it consistent? I mean, is it going to be unique to Lake Placid or is it gonna carry through Saranac Lake? Because it's all about this connectivity.
yeah, so it's actually, they're actually consistent with DOT, so they are,
Okay.
that.
So it really has nothing to do with the rail trail,
People,
not that look of the rail trail.
not particularly, there will be the Lake Placid logo on them, and that is consistent with DOT, but it's not gonna be a specific.
The Roost logo, where it's that,
Yeah.
where is,
Yeah, if we feel strongly about a different one, then I think we can make that case, but in the absence of, in the absence of that, I think I'm happy to pick your brain offline if you got other thoughts.
I just. We're 3 identities and we got 3 different brands. We've got the North Elba logo, we've got the Lake
Yeah.
Placid Village logo, and we've got Roost's logo.
Yeah.
I mean, we have an identity crisis.
And I think,
Ours is the best.
or,
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
I think the the physical location of the routes will cover town and village.
Yeah.
And so I guess from that perspective, it seemed like doing, the kind of the overall regional logo might make the most sense, but, I'm not a marketing person, so
So going back to the
Yeah.
rail trail banners,
yeah.
I don't believe they're going to redo them. I believe what they want to do, they spend a lot of money on it, they're going to collect the rail trail banners that are out there. And their idea is to just put them up and down Station Street. I mean, that's their plan. Obviously, we work with Kimball on it but, so.
That's not a bad idea to do till everybody recognizes what they are and then
Yeah.
move back.
Yeah, that's true.
You're back later, because once you've seen them when you're going to there 100 times, you.
Yeah,
know
you'll
they-
figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They just plopped them all over the places.
but I think in
Well,
terms,
they,
sorry, go ahead.
they also need to drive that logo on their social media and their advertising, so that people are looking for it. There's no way you'd understand what it is otherwise.
In terms of Jackie, the kind of question on where the signage is at. So I think that we've got a mock-up, but I think that now the next step is, it would be great if we can get, Creighton Manning's and seal of approval on the routes, on the turns proposed, et cetera. And then once we get a lock on where the route is exactly based on that feedback, then I guess everything's kind of ready to go in the print queue. And I think they just need a few weeks lead time for that. The DOT approval is like a whole different timeline. So we might be in a position where we can put up things that are on village roads very quickly, but then have to go through the state DOT approval for those.
Highways like Main Street.
Yeah,
Traffic engineers have to prove everything in the.
yeah, it's like a big process. So they have to have, like, the committee needs to meet, but that's one of the reasons why.
Is that gonna happen this summer?
Mhm. But I think for me, that's one of the reasons why if we can get Creighton Manning's
Sure.
version to DOT, I think we've got a better shot at having it be one hit rather than an iterative process, which would definitely push it out. And we've also had a couple of businesses say that they would be agreeable to putting a sign on their property. Like, as in, like, a High Peak Cyclery as an example, coming onto Main Street would be happy to hang a sign on their building if we can't get approval to hang a sign, to put up a sign
On
Temporarily.
Main Street.
on Main Street.
Oh,
So, it's definitely not where we want to land, but it might be, I think either to do that type of signage or another temporary sign. It's helpful that we've got some local businesses who are up for working with us on it.
sure.
So we'll see.
Great.
On timeline there.
Okay, and that brings us back to Jackie, item 9. Your
Um,
changes to the land use code.
Right, we're still, that committee is still working on the 4 items. The 2 of them are very easy. 2 of them are removing the restriction on displaying political signage. The other is accessory dwellings on units built after 2011. The committee, and I think everybody here kind of agrees that as long as it's not used as a short-term rental, any accessory dwelling built after 2011 can be used for long-term. The other 2 amendments is in creating a temporary workforce housing permit, which would give us some teeth when there are J1 visa students in residential neighborhoods that may be not following the noise ordinance, not following, or the property owner isn't managing garbage collection, anything that may disrupt that residential area. And the 4th thing is special use permits that would be applicable in rural countryside in the properties outside of the village that are being used as special event party venues, wedding venues. One of the restrictions that we're talking about is just having that event be available or being held during the day so that, at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, you're not disturbing the neighbors. So, we're pretty close to having those done. Just wanted to give you an update.
Great, thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Those require a public hearing or anything?
They will,
Okay.
because they are amendments to the land use code. Yes, they will all require a public hearing.
Okay, and then item 10 is me. I received a call last week from the Secretary of the World Union of Olympic Cities. They're going to have a ceremony to formally induct the new head of the IOC in. Everyone's read about that, Christy Coventry. She was an Olympic swimmer. Thomas Bach will be stepping down. And they've requested my presence for June 21, 22, and 23. And very similar to when we go on our trip in November. Basically, I'm responsible, or the village is, for getting me to Lausanne and to the hotel, and then they pick up all the expense after that. So I guess it's up to the board if they want to send me and approve that.
Have to do that at a board meeting.
Yeah, we have to do, I mean, I think it's important. It's being held on World Olympic Day, so it's quite important.
I think,
So we'll put it on Monday's agenda.
Yeah.
I think it's really good networking.
Okay.
Um,
Eh, Any
ahead.
questions, further questions on that?
No.
Okay, and then the other item that's not on our agenda, but I guess a lot of this would have to do with you, Andrew. We had moved our meetings from 3:30 until later for your job, which I understand you're not at any longer. Do we want to move back to 3:30, or do you have something new on the horizon? Or do it temporarily?
Temporary 3:30 is fine. But you know what?
Anybody else have a comment on that? Does 3:30 work for them?
I prefer it earlier.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah,
Um,
okay, and it also helps our department heads that have to come in early.
Art, can I
Okay.
bring something? I forgot to put it on. I wanted to just. Sorry, what? Did you all want to get out of here? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
Lisa G's parking.
Okay,
It seemed to go really well. Yes, there were comments on Facebook, but it was half and half.
Or we're.
More were happy with it.
Because it was a safety issue.
It was.
But nobody said, well, they're doing it just to do it. It was, hey, people,
Yeah, I almost got hit.
Yeah.
Pull out better, yeah.
yeah, or they open their door and road,
Yep.
that bicycle's flying down.
Yep.
And people open doors, so yes.
But I've noticed cones.
So we did that, because we realized that wing night was last night and the first wing night back since. So we figured just to be proactive, we just did cones for the first.
So there
Draw people's attention.
yes, and the cones were in two spots. And the rest of the people parked on the bridge and to the IGA.
Right.
Are we still handing out the red paper warnings?
Think we're getting done this week. I think, because originally we said 2 weeks.
We did. Is that now in talking to Lisa G's? They had an idea since they're going to be opening up that other restaurant. We've obviously taken some parking away. But Lisa G's has a big takeout following, and just throwing it out there as an idea, do we make that like a stop? So that they can, cause now, okay, I mean, I'm just, let me play devil's advocate. I'm gonna go pick up my wings or whatever, and all of a sudden I'm parking by Hurley Brothers, because okay. And I'm just trying to accommodate
I
their,
understand, but my point is we're doing it for safety. So we can
Okay.
take one above where their employees park right there all the time and put that 15-minute pickup,
You could do that in their lot too.
right?
Right.
yeah, so
So
leave it up to them.
Yeah, they
They
always
always
say they.
have. if you drive through, you can see where their employees park at what time.
Sure,
And I'm
for-
not trying-
I know.
And with me, all mine parked way in the back. There is that whole parking down at Hurley's that if they started, or they could go down to the museum on that, back there. There's a lot of parking down there. They can just, employees walk farther. It's,
I
Okay.
think the thing with 15 minutes too comes down to enforcement too, which. is
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I get it.
it's kind of like the post office parking, it's just there. And people either do it or don't.
Did they say what the new restaurant's gonna be?
No. But funny thing is that Lisa,
She involved again.
no, she's not involved, but she always gave Andre money. And Mike is not. No, there's a little bit of a,
I'm very well, let's close that off.
They'll park his VWs there and block it all out.
well, I think he's trying to play nice. But
At one point, Lisa's what not Lisa's, the handlebar was supposed to be a wine bar, but I don't know if that's gone out the window or what.
Liquids and solids?
Yeah, no, that what handlebars across the street.
No, Chubb. The Chubb was across the street.
So I'm like, that was the handlebar, yeah.
Yes, but after that, it was liquid and solids.
I'm going way back.
I'm done.
Okay, is there anybody else that has anything else they'd like to bring up at the workshop? Okay, if that's the case, then motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.